Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'd like to talk about another missing person case. So like most of the cases I cover on my channel, this case is very recent. In fact, most of the articles I source are from the past few days, so details are still being released. And while our missing person, her name is Patricia Ventre, has been missing for a little bit over a month, I believe. An investigation was actually sparked after an incident that occurred approximately 3 days ago. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. So on Tuesday, March 9th, 2021, at around 5:35 a.m., NYPD and emergency officials were called out to Bedford Avenue and Avenue Y in Sheepshead Bay, and when they arrived, they were met with a horrific scene. They found a man engulfed in flames. So after working out to put out the flames, the man, who was later identified as Jean Paul Ventre, was unfortunately pronounced dead, and his death was ruled as a suicide. It turns out that he had doused himself in 2 cans of gasoline before he set himself on fire. Now, police were actually at the same residence on Monday, so a day earlier, to do a wellness check for Jean Paul's mother, our missing person that we're discussing, Patricia Pattie Ventre. So we're going to call her Pattie for the rest of this story because that's what her friends and family refer to her as. So a little backstory. Pattie and Jean Paul were living together at the time, but this wasn't always the case. So from what I understand, Jean Paul struggled with psychiatric issues, and that's what really prompted his mother to want him to live with her. So in 2006, Jean Paul was arrested by the Secret Service after trespassing at President Bush's temporary residence in Texas near Waco. And after serving 30 days in jail and 4 years of probation, he returned to New York City and underwent a mental competence hearing. And ultimately, he ended up moving back in with his mother, and she was fine with that as long as he kept up with his medication. So like I said, the day prior on Monday, the NYPD had visited the home to do a wellness check for Pattie because Pattie's close friends reported not being able to reach her and hadn't heard from her since before Valentine's Day. A friend of Pattie's named Anna Schloff was able to reach Jean Paul, and he told her that Pattie, his mother, had actually been off somewhere looking to buy land because she was hoping to move out of the city. But Anna, knowing that Pattie would not leave the city without letting her know of her plans, reached out to Pattie's niece and asked her if she could call the police or let her know that this is not likely. So then niece insisted that the police do a welfare check. So during the wellness check, Jean Paul informed the police that his mother was simply away on a trip. And after he said this and the police let the niece know, many of her close friends and her neighbors were like, no, this isn't true. They still didn't believe it. They didn't believe it for an array of reasons. So Pattie was a professional dog dancer. She taught her dogs how to dance, and she loved her dogs. So she launched a nonprofit called the World Canine Freestyle Organization, where dogs have dance competitions. And I'll actually insert a video of her here teaching her pups some tricks and talking about her passion.
And scratch and pull, foot, pull, twirl. Good job. My name is Pattie Ventre. I am a sassy senior. I have lived in Brooklyn all my life, and I am a dog dancer. I am the founder of the world's largest dog dancing organization. I wanted to dedicate my life to dancing, music, choreography, costumes, and bonding with my dogs. I travel all over the world, judging, giving seminars. It's global. Our goal is to see it become the first Olympic sport for dogs. Kids are not patient today. They have instant gratification. Dogs teach us so much about life. They teach you a sense of responsibility. As you get older, you have to slow down a little bit, but I don't want to face slowing down. I want to dance with my dogs until I die.
And the reason I bring this up is because we later find out that two of her dogs were actually with her neighbor, which strikes many as odd because she wouldn't just go on a trip and leave her dogs here for nearly a month or more. She wouldn't just be gone for this long and leave her dogs like that. And another reason why it's difficult to believe that Pattie is simply away on a trip is because the home was still decorated for Christmas. And according to her neighbors, this is unlike Pattie. So Pattie is the kind of neighbor who is always ready for the next holiday. She would decorate and then take down the decorations and put up the next holidays decorations, even for small holidays like Valentine's Day, St. Patty's Day. And another neighbor actually is quoted as saying she was always the first one on the street to change the holiday decorations. She missed Valentine's Day, so it was before that she went missing. So now we know that a wellness check was performed on Monday, and then on Tuesday, the son, Jean Paul, takes his life. So, fearing the worst and not knowing where Pattie is, a silver alert was issued for Pattie. And for those of you who don't know, a silver alert is somewhat similar to an amber alert. It's essentially a public notification that's put out for people who are usually 65 and older, to let them know that this person is missing, but it can be put out for somebody who's younger than 65 but has a cognitive impairment, or somebody who has dementia or Alzheimer's, or something along those lines. And for me personally, I don't believe that Pattie is off taking a trip somewhere or off looking for land for several reasons. So personally, I think that if she were looking, she would have told a friend, she would have informed somebody. Why wouldn't she let someone know that she was going on a trip? So she would tell her friends, I think, since they were so worried. Like Anna said, I think she would have at least told her. Secondly, I'm assuming that wherever she would have gone on a trip, she would have her cell phone, and she would have service, at least at some point, even if she was in Woodlands or something, especially if it were a guided trip. And thirdly, the current affairs, at least in the U.S., which is she's in Brooklyn, so the current affairs here don't really allow us to travel freely and don't really allow people to want to travel because there are so many restrictions. So we're kind of limited in where we can go and what we can do. And lastly, another reason why I don't think she's off on a trip somewhere is because of her son's actions after this wellness check. Why would her son end his life a day after police begin to ask questions as to where she is? If she was purely on a trip and he wasn't involved in her disappearance, why would he end his life? Don't get me wrong, I know that mental health and mental illness can cause people to do things and can cause people to act in a way that they shouldn't. But it's just interesting that the peak of his mental illness would cause him to do that right after police start digging into what happened to her or where she is. So the most obvious theory here is that Jean Paul hurt his mother and then took his own life when he realized that police were starting to get involved and look into his mother's disappearance. To back this theory, it seems like Jean Paul was really struggling immensely with his mental health recently due to conversations that Pattie had with her friends before her disappearance. So a member of Pattie's organization, her name is Una Meyer, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, claims that the last time her and Pattie spoke, Pattie had alluded that Jean Paul was not doing well, and she voiced her concern for her son. Una suggested that Pattie 302 him, which essentially means that she have him admitted to a hospital or some sort of institution, if necessary, even if it's involuntary. However, Pattie insisted that her son would never hurt her and explained that he was mistreated the last time he was in an institution, so she didn't want to go down that route. And neighbors also said that Jean Paul was not doing well. They said that Jean Paul was schizophrenic and that he would be walking down the streets talking to himself and screaming. And one neighbor, Iger, claims that Pattie said that her son would just snap when something happened. and that he was taking pills, and at that point in time he was stable, but again that he would just be yelling on the streets. And like I mentioned earlier, updates are coming in literally by the hour, and as of now it's the 12th, and it was just released yesterday that police are continuing to search the home, and they released that there was possible evidence of decomposition in one of the closets in the home, and that more blood evidence was found in the home. I've also read that blood was found in the basement of the home, and it hasn't been confirmed whose blood this is, but unfortunately it's not looking too good. Unfortunately, I don't believe Pattie is still with us, and this is such a tragic case. I really believe that the big takeaway from this case is that we need to destigmatize mental health and fix our hospital and our mental health care system. I know many people who are traumatized and refuse to seek help because of their previous experiences in the mental health system. And at the end of the day, if there are more people who end up traumatized from our institutions, something is clearly wrong. There's no reason why Pattie should be fearful of putting her son into a system that's supposed to help him. And it's just tragic because there's so many horror stories, and then people are scared to put their loved ones into the healthcare system. And this needs to change. I know it's not that easy, and I know that most people in our healthcare system obviously genuinely care about patients and want to help, but they're just limited and restricted by what they can do. But it's just, again, it's such a tragedy because then we have cases like this where, you know, it's tragic that Jean Paul had to hurt himself. And Pattie, like I said, I don't think she's here, but it's just such a tragic case looking at what happened to Jean Paul alone. So again, I just think it's really tragic. And I think that the only thing we can do is try to work towards improving our healthcare system. But thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you like this video, and for more content like this before you go.